Hi, I'm Dr. Lori Schwartz-Reichel. My career began in music education where I learned the importance of a key change, a shift, in the tonal center of a piece of music, often used to inject energy or produce significance. Eventually, I realized the impact of making key changes in all areas of my life and the desire to help others do the same. Making key changes can be difficult. I certainly don't have all the answers, but I do like to pose questions for reflection and offer actionable key changes for us to attempt in both our working and living situations. Together, we can unlock our greatest potential in collaboration with those we love, serve, and lead. Let's discover how we can grow together by making key changes. From individuals to organizations, burnout has become a growing concern across various levels, industries, and professions. Along with our loved ones, our colleagues, clients, and employees feel overwhelmed, underappreciated, or stretched too thin. This impact on health leads to decreased productivity, lower morale, and strained relationships at home and in the workplace. Although data shows burnout has slightly decreased in the last 2 years, it is an essential topic that must be addressed regularly and resolved immediately. Addressing burnout is a significant part of creating a sustainable and healthy work culture. This includes offering flexible work arrangements, encouraging time off, providing mental health resources, and creating an environment where employees feel valued and supported. But how can organizations make the necessary key changes to beat burnout in collaboration with those it serves and leads? Is a process for transformation being followed and upheld in your company? Two of the most downloaded episodes of this podcast have been episode number 2, Burnout, Confront and Conquer It, and episode number 12, Banishing Burnout. Since these are two of the earlier episodes, the audio isn't as clear, and I don't feel my speaking was as confident. Yet, the message prevailed. After both of those episodes were aired, I received responses from listeners. One listener, a novice professional in her 20s, said she felt like I was talking to her one-on-one and motivating her through the content. Another listener, a leader in his mid-40s, said it forced him to honestly consider the cause of his burnout. Since both those early episodes aired, I have wanted to publish another episode on burnout, but the timing didn't seem right until now. Just yesterday, I was texting with a few friends when one responded, "These past few weeks, I feel like there's never a time when I'm at my best. I don't know if it's my winter slump or what, but I'm over it." Her response made me wonder, who else has the winter blues? I have felt this negativity in the last few weeks too. I live on the East Coast of the United States, so it is cold, dreary, and dark here in mid-February, especially in the late afternoon and evenings. Punxsutawney Phil didn't see a shadow on Groundhog Day, so we are preparing for several more weeks of winter weather. The snowflake keeps appearing on my weather app, and an ice storm occurred last week. Winter hibernation is at its height. Burnout should be addressed at all times of the year, but may be most relevant in the winter season. In the next few months, I am scheduled to speak in several learning spaces on burnout and ways to confront and conquer it as individuals and teams. Yesterday, I presented my burnout session in Nebraska for a school-wide educator professional learning day, and I will present at the Pennsylvania Council of Children, Youth, and Family Services Conference for a Maryland Businesswomen's event, and during a webinar. In the past, this session has been well received by the attendees. Most importantly, people show gratitude for being offered a safe place to speak candidly about burnout and how they feel. They appreciate being able to share their struggles. They respond well when their pain is acknowledged, and they are provided guidance and support. People are experiencing burnout in their personal and professional lives, and it has become challenging to manage in both atmospheres. The boundaries between work and home life are often blurred, especially in today's world, where remote work and constant connectivity are the norms. This overlap means that stress from one area tends to bleed into the other, creating a cycle that's hard to break. Just like any personal and professional development, we can't stop talking about a topic when the article, episode, or training is completed. If we do, we will never make the necessary key changes to grow, or in this case, to beat burnout. We need to keep reflecting, researching habits, and refreshing them. Burnout is no exception. Burnout can creep back into our lives at any time or season. This is the reason I felt like returning to this topic again now, to bring awareness and provide actionable key changes to beat burnout. My godmother always reminds me that everyone is going through something. Maybe you have heard the phrase, be kind always, for everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. The other night, my kids weren't feeling well, so they went to bed early. My husband had some work to finish, and I found myself alone with nothing to do. My first thought was to watch a television show. I'm currently binging the show Younger on Netflix, while wishing my 46-year-old self had the skin and body of Sutton Foster, who was supposed to be 40, yet pretending to be a 26-year-old in the show. Instead of indulging in this fictional life, I decided to reach out to a few friends and relatives to check in on them. Everyone I communicated with was going through something unpleasant. A cousin is battling breast cancer. A friend was passed over for a job she thought she had secured. Another friend was in the emergency room with her son, who has type 1 diabetes. He had the norovirus, and each time he threw up, his blood sugar dropped dangerously low. Not one, but two other friends had just returned from the hospital because their mother-in-laws were admitted. Another friend was dealing with a parent with dementia. The list went on. Everyone felt overwhelmed and overextended. At the time, some of my issues seemed minute due to theirs. I held in some of my bigger woes to allow my loved ones the space they needed to release their discontent and worry. That probably wasn't the best choice for me, as I also needed support for burnout too, but I felt it was helpful to them at that moment. Burnout often results from feeling overwhelmed, underappreciated, or disconnected from one's work or personal goals. While burnout is most associated with work, it can also affect personal life or caregiving roles. Burnout is a 3-component syndrome of exhaustion, cynicism, and inefficacy that arises in response to chronic stressors from cognitive, emotional, or physical exhaustion. Burnout can occur in the presence of high conflict, unfairness, and lack of participation in decision-making or activities. Does this sound like you? Or maybe your work? Burnout can be brought on by feelings of incompetence and a lack of achievement, productivity, recognition, or control. It can include lack of adequate time, misinformation, unclear expectations, limited independence, lack of reward, little or no feedback, or unmeaningful relationships with those whose involvement we need to succeed. How many of these things have you experienced in the last few weeks? Personal challenges, such as relationship difficulties, financial concerns, or caregiving responsibilities, can also contribute to burnout, especially when combined with work stress. Burnout can feel isolating, but it's important to recognize that it's not a personal weakness. It's a sign of overextended limits. By examining the root causes and addressing them, it's possible to beat burnout, recover from it, and prevent future burnout. Beating burnout can be a challenge, but there are effective ways to address it. Consider these 5 key changes to beat burnout individually and within your company or organization. Key change number 1, recognize and examine. Understand that you, your loved one, student, client, colleague, or employee may be experiencing burnout. Learn about the symptoms and discover how to identify them. Feeling constantly exhausted, emotionally drained, and detached from your work or personal life are common signs of burnout. Examining burnout involves understanding its causes, symptoms, and the broader impact it has on an individual's well-being. It's a gradual process that often builds over time, making it hard to recognize until the symptoms are more intense. Inquire about how you or they are doing and share your experiences, the struggles and all. How can you recognize burnout in yourself and identify it in your work colleagues? Key change number 2, set boundaries and take breaks. One of the biggest causes of burnout is the inability to set clear boundaries. It's important to recognize your limits and the limits of others and to say no when necessary. Regular breaks throughout the day can help refresh one's mind. Even a few minutes of stretching or taking a walk outside can make a big difference. Focus on maintaining and encouraging a healthy lifestyle by getting enough sleep, eating nutritious food, and exercising. This can help replenish energy. How can you take breaks and set boundaries for yourself and encourage your colleagues to do the same at work? Key change number 3, connect. Find some way to connect with others. Have a meaningful conversation. Engage in fun activities. Plan to do something that you and they enjoy to recharge and redirect your energy and attention. Whether it's a hobby, spending time with loved ones, or just resting, make time for activities that bring you and others joy. What could you plan or schedule in your organization so your employees feel connected to each other? Key change number 4, follow up. Check in with others as needed. Review how you or they have improved or worsened. Consider additional guidance or professional help. Sometimes talking to a friend, therapist, or counselor can help you process burnout and explore deeper emotional or psychological causes. How can you follow up with your employees to ensure they are beating burnout? And finally, number 5, show gratitude. Let others know they are appreciated. Often. Remind them of their gifts. Showing gratitude is powerful to both the receiver and the giver. Each week, I end my newsletter with this message about spreading love. Please continue to support and celebrate one another. Consider sharing with others how you believe they are making key changes to better our world in your home, school, company, or community. Most importantly, tell those you love or respect what they mean to you. How are you showing gratitude to those you serve or lead in your organization? While the arrival of spring can certainly help lift our moods due to the longer days and warmer weather, beating burnout requires more intentional key changes. It's a gradual process that involves not just external factors like sunlight, but also internal changes and support from those we love, serve, or lead. If you found this episode helpful or enjoyable, please share it with others. Access the show notes for some resources. There is a link to my website and one where you can sign up for the Making Key Changes newsletter to receive weekly content delivered directly to your email inbox each Wednesday. My main work is public speaking. So if you feel the contents of this episode or any of my talks or courses would add value to your school district, company, or organization, let's have a conversation. How are we making key changes to beat burnout as individuals and within our companies or organizations? Thanks for listening. If you haven't done so yet, please consider rating and reviewing the Making Key Changes podcast on the Apple Podcast app. If you found this episode helpful, please consider sharing it with others and joining me again next week. In my coming episodes, I'll discuss topics that are most passionate to me, along with things I've been researching or areas of my life I have changed or want to change. You can learn more about me on my website, makingkeychanges.com. Feel free to message me through there or reach out on social media. I'd love to hear from you and learn about what key changes you hope to make.